What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Shontavia Show, where my goal is to help you start a business based on your life's vision. This ain't gonna be your daddy's business advice. I'm laser focused on entrepreneurship in the 21st century, vision, and breaking the traditional mold. If you can get with that, you can get with me. Be sure to visit Shontavia.com for more episodes, blog posts, and other content. Thank you for listening. The show starts now. What's up, everybody? I'm Shontavia Johnson, and this is another episode of the Shontavia Show, where I want to inspire you to start a business based on your life's vision. And I am really excited to have with me today Mr. Artie Freeman. Thank you for being here, Artie.
Thank you for having me.
Artie is an early stage entrepreneur. He's the co-founder of Ferguson and Freeman Affiliated Company, which is an apparel company, right?
That's correct.
Based here in Greenville, South Carolina. Artie and I met because his wife braids my hair, and Artie was, I don't know, you came by or something. We were talking about, I was starting this new podcast, and I mentioned of what was happening with the podcast and how I would talk sometimes on my own and have guests, and he... without invitation, suggested to me that I shouldn't just have like experts and that kind of thing, but also have like people who are really in the middle of starting their companies, new entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, wannabe entrepreneurs. So I took your suggestion, even though I didn't ask for it.
Right, you took it.
But it was a good suggestion.
I appreciate it, and I expect that 20%.
Well, Artie, we're going to talk about that part. You should have gotten it in writing.
That's what I'm about to learn about today.
Hey, amen to that. So before we get into the conversation, let me tell you a little bit about Artie and how he came to be the co-founder of Ferguson and Freeman Affiliated Apparel. He's wearing the shirt right now, so make sure you plug your shirt, hold your jacket open a little bit so the people can see it. For those who are watching the video, if you're listening via podcast, then you have to go to YouTube or come to Shontavia.com to see the shirt. So Artie has always appreciated the impact that wardrobe has on the outlook of the wearer. From a very early age, Artie has told me that he started making bow ties at a very early age and is very talented in this space. He is very connected to fashion and feels that fashion is the way you can greet the world without saying anything, in silence. And he has described his style as innovatively nostalgic, which I love. So Artie has a passion for people and quality. And what he wants to do in his company is provide a platform where both of those things can mesh together. So thank you for being here, Artie.
Again, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I do too. I'm so glad that we could do this. And I was glad you gave me some advice because I was thinking, I can do this and I can do this. But it's good to hear from people about what they really need.
No, I appreciate the fact that you're not only knowledgeable about things, obviously successful, but you're approachable. And so I feel comfortable being able to say, hey, what do you think about this idea? And the fact that you took it seriously and we're here today, that speaks volumes to the type of person you are. So I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you. All right, so Artie, let's talk about you, where you're from and how we got here. So where are you from?
I'm from Arkansas.
What part of Arkansas?
A small town called Dumas, Arkansas is where I was born and raised. A lot of people say, well, how did you get all the way to South Carolina? And I always tell them it has to be a woman involved in order for me to get out here. But so from there, we moved here not long after we got married, and we've been here ever since. As far as fashion is concerned, I recall when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I think that's the first time I remember seeing myself in the mirror. My daddy had come over and he put my clothes on me, getting us ready for school. And I looked in the mirror and I said, man, I kind of like the way that looks. And ever since then, I just wanted to get that feeling. That's why I say nostalgic. Nostalgia to me is more than just a memory, recalling something. To me, nostalgia is a feeling or an emotion. And I think that's one way through wardrobe is a good way to express oneself. So that's how I got started in that regard, into fashion. That's where my love started.
At 5 years old, how do you remember that?
I have very few memories from being at that age, but that was one.
That was one.
And I think it was easy to remember that one because I tried to recreate that feeling and that emotion every day that I got dressed from then on.
Oh, that's amazing. So, how do you go from being that 5-year-old kid with your dad looking in the mirror to saying, I could really make money doing this. I could start a business. I could be an entrepreneur.
It was actually they say necessity is the mother of invention. Oftentimes, I would go to the clothing stores, and I was unable to find exactly what I was looking for. Even if they had the product, they didn't have the different color combinations that I was wanting, the different style or whatever the case may be. And then also, it was the fact that you couldn't always, growing up the way I did, we couldn't always afford everything that we wanted. And so when it was one time I wanted to wear something, but I couldn't find it, or I didn't have time to get it. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna make it. And so I went across the street to my neighbor's house because I saw her with a sewing machine one day, and I said, hey, can I borrow your sewing machine? And she said, do you know how to sew? I said, no, but I can figure it out. And so she brought it over, and that's where it started. I started making pocket squares. And then one of my friends who really liked my pocket squares said, hey, you should make me a bow tie. I said, I don't know how. And one day I sat down to figure out how to do that, and that's where it got started.
So, you self taught.
Yes,
So, this is, I imagine being a person who you sew.
yes,
You are a black man from Dumas, Arkansas.
yes.
So, how did you decide that this is what you were going to do, and how did you decide to, turn this into a business, particularly when it's something that I would imagine is, largely woman dominated or
Yes.
female driven?
What happened is because I know what I want, and it turns out that I used to and still do help not only men but a lot of women get their wardrobe together. Even when my sisters were coming up, I would pick out their outfits, iron their clothes, and set them up. But I just wanted to do it. And so then when individuals started seeing what I was wearing, they appreciated it, and then they started asking for it. So that's how I got into it. I wasn't necessarily thinking that, okay, this is a market or an area that I won't be able to tap into because I'm a man. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. But I didn't have the intent of influencing someone else or inspiring someone else that just came along with it,
I see.
if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. So you and I have talked about in the past that you started out making bow ties, making pocket squares, and doing that custom,
Yes.
right? Everything from start to finish.
Right.
And what happened? So it sounded like you got to the point where that became
Frustrating.
Yeah. So why
Yes.
was that
It
frustrating?
was frustrating because when I started, I always cared about people getting what they want. I wanted you to get something from me that you loved, and I wanted you to always want to wear it. You know what I mean? Even now with T-shirts, when I make you a T-shirt, I want it to be your favorite one. I want it to make you feel good. And so for that reason, the only way I felt that I could make a person love what I gave them or provided for them was if they had a part in it coming together. That was a good thing for them, but from a business standpoint, it makes it very difficult for the person producing it because people aren't always easy to get in touch with, and then everybody has their own little tweak that they want to make to it. And so I spent a lot of time and money trying to give a person what they want, but it wasn't paying off in
Yeah.
the long run.
So we, talk about this a lot with entrepreneurs that, you want to do something that's scalable, where it's not like always you one-on-one doing a particular thing. So it sounds like you learned that lesson
The hard way.
the hard way.
The hard way.
And then you had to pivot to doing something else. So talk a little bit about affiliated and what you do with the T-shirts. You mentioned that before.
Well, I've always wanted, like I said, I always wanted what I wanted. Even when I would see airbrush guys in the mall, instead of buying a shirt for an event, I would just come up with a design and take it to them. And so I said, well, I'm going to do the same thing with T-shirts. But I found that it was way too expensive to do that constantly. And so I started investigating how much it would cost for me to do it on my own. And one of my very close friends, really close associates, said, hey, if you get started, let me know. I'd like to be a part of it. And that's Ferguson. And so that's where we started. And we kind of bumped into or ran into some of those same hurdles, trying to do custom things for individuals. But it got difficult because everybody wants to tweak it a certain way. And so having a conversation with you, I remember one time you said you need to focus. Find that individual that you're trying to provide for, who is the ideal person to buy your product and make something for them. That was some of the best advice I've ever had.
Okay,
And
okay,
so
good.
you said even give them a name, but fortunately I already knew that name.
That's right. You
Yeah,
knew who the
I knew the
person
person's
was.
name already.
No, that's awesome. So what Artie is talking about is so Artie has lots of ideas. He's a
Yes.
creative. He makes bow ties. He makes shirts. He does all this different stuff. And he was at one point it seemed like trying to do a lot of those things all at once. So we talked a lot about focusing on one specific thing and identifying who that customer is, that ideal customer. We've talked about it on the podcast a little, finding that ideal customer so that you can make things that that person loves and identifying who that person is. I've heard a consultant say a couple of times that if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody, because you can't have that conversation where I know this is the shirt I want, right?
Right,
And that's
exactly.
that feeling you're trying to create.
Exactly.
So, what are some of your other frustrations? Where are you in the business? I guess is my first question. Where are you in terms of
So
like your sales and what you're trying to do?
so again, we find ourselves at ground zero, which is okay because I'm taking what I've learned, some of the advice I've gotten from you, and starting from there. So we're working on marketing, products, and simplifying the products because, like you said, and you've seen a number of the different designs that I have, but you can't provide all of those things for everyone. Uh, Trying to have inventory so that you can provide what a person wants at the drop of a dime is very difficult. So we're just starting fresh. We've taken two of our most popular designs, and that's what we're going to go with.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Okay, so you're in the kind of revising, revamping, the startup phase. What are your biggest frustrations right now as you're starting over with your, or not even really starting over, but pivoting again in your company?
Biggest frustration is would be getting it in the hands or in the eyes of the people who you think would be interested in it. You have social media, but it's so difficult trying to find a way to market it that's going to be successful. Everybody in the world seems to be on social media, and everybody has a great idea. So trying to have that identity, and set yourself apart as being different and unique, but at the same time not so different that it's weird. So that's what I'm working on right now.
You don't want a weird T-shirt.
No, I don't wear t-shirts. No.
No, that's really interesting. So you have a partner, a business partner, and you have a vision. You've been doing this for a while. Is he also in the apparel industry? Is he a person who knows a lot about this stuff? What is the balance between the two of you?
That's a good question because anytime you add another person, you add another dynamic. And the thing I love about my partner is that he's good with he's willing to compromise. We do have different views. I'm about 8 to 10 years older than he is, so our style is a little bit different. But we try to use our differences to reach a larger audience. So individuals around my age group, I can appeal to them, and so actually affiliated is this actual shirt that I'm wearing now is more so my idea. His is one that we have called Young Bull, which people will be able to see that on the Instagram account and when we start marketing on a larger scale. So that is one of the challenges, trying to find that balance, agreeing on things, because it's both of our money that we're investing, right? And so it can't be all my way, can't be all his way. So we have to figure out when we do need to compromise or when I just need to acquiesce to go with what he thinks and vice versa. And so that's one of the challenges, but I think we do that well
Okay.
because we have a respect for one another.
So figuring out that balance is tough. Are there other things? So you talked about marketing and social media and business. Have you thought about like your copyrights, how you
That's
protect all those
that's
things?
one of the main things I'm concerned about because when you have a good idea, you're thinking, okay, I need to keep this a secret. But it's hard to promote it if you're keeping it a secret, but you're afraid if you're not bankrolled, so to speak, that someone who sees it and has the finances to take it to the next level will just do whatever they want with it. So that's one of my biggest fears right there. That's one of the biggest challenges. Okay, how do we copyright this or trademark this or whatever the case may be without losing what we've invested into it already? And so that's one of the things I'm really concerned about.
Okay. So how you gonna solve that? How you gonna do
That's
that?
why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
Well, then why don't we do that? Why don't we
Okay.
give some advice then? I mean,
Okay.
this is all right. So I am not your lawyer. I am giving you information, not
Okay.
advice. Let me give you y'all don't take my law license. I'm just giving him some information about some of this stuff. But so this is interesting. So you have T-shirts, you have designs on the shirts. And what you and I have talked about is how, in fashion is actually really hard with copyrights because, at least in the United States, the Copyright Office does not really allow you to copyright fashion designs on their own unless they can stand apart from whatever your fashion is. And so, like, from your perspective, you showed me some of your shirts in the past, some of your designs. And one of the things we talked about was in the United States, once you've designed something, you actually don't have to register that thing with the Copyright Office to have a copyright in the U.S. So even if you never, filed a registration with the United States Copyright Office, you have a copyright in that thing. Now, there's some benefits to registering. So, like the designs you've showed me, and maybe even the one you have there, now there's probably something copyrightable in there. So already you have some protection. Now, for your company, probably what makes sense with the designs is to register your copyrighted work with the Copyright Office. That's like, in most cases, less than $70 if you do it on your own, if you go to copyright.gov. And having that kind of strategy is so important because of what you said, particularly if you're going to be online. Because anybody can copy and paste your picture
Exactly.
and copy that shirt maybe. But if you have a copyright in the design, then at least what you have in the U.S. is the right to reach out to that person, send them a cease and desist letter, and keep it pushing. And then if they don't stop, then you have to file a lawsuit maybe.
Right.
But there are some things you can do that don't cost a ton of money. And I think that's one thing that people overlook about intellectual property when you talk about copyrights in particular. Because if you do it on your own, which, some people can, one of the best resources I know about if you're trying to do it on your own is a resource through NOLO, N-O-L-O.
Okay.
And they walk you through step by step how to file a copyright application for your work. And doing that is one of the best things you can do. And it doesn't have to be cost prohibitive. Like I said, if you do it on your own, it's probably less than $70. A lawyer is probably going to charge you a few $100s, but not necessarily cost prohibitive if you're selling products, and if you believe in your work. So you have options. You have lots of options.
And that's the thing I need to know about. I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about.
Yeah.
How do we make what we're doing official and we protect our brand? And that's what we need.
Yeah. So
An affordable
copyrights.
way to do it.
Copyrights are one thing, the trademark. So even like with your shirt, so y'all saw a shirt earlier. If you're listening on the podcast, I'll drop a link in the show notes so you can see the shirts. But trademark is another thing. So in the United States with trademarks even, once you start selling with the logo and all that on it, you have a trademark. It's not a very strong trademark, but you have one. And I say it's not a strong trademark because in the U.S. at least, where you have trademark protection is where you have physically sold products. So like if you're selling products in Greenville, you probably are acquiring trademark rights in Greenville. The state has a pretty cheap trademark application that you can file through the South Carolina Secretary of State's office. Also less than $100. I think that might even be less than $50. Then you're protected around the state. Federal trademark application, probably less than $300 or $400 if you do it yourself. So federal trademark applications, I often suggest you don't do on your own because of the applications are deceivingly complicated. But there are steps you can take in the interim that are cheap or free that allow you, to at least start or get on the path. Federal trademark protection is probably the best, especially if you're online. It's going to cost you a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, thousands and thousands of dollars either. But having a strategy is important.
Yes.
Having a good strategy. But you guys have a great model, in my opinion, because, you've got these shirts, these designs that appeal to different people. I think who your ideal customer is now. You can start talking to those people directly. I don't know. I think you have a good the frame for what you're trying to do.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. Other frustrations. Are there other frustrations?
Oh.
So for people who are listening who want to start a business or have started and they are thinking about all these things that they need question or they have questions about, what are the other things that you guys are thinking about in your business right now?
One of my concerns is being able to provide for the demand. Let's say we all want to be successful. We want people the orders to start coming in. But when you have a person who's passionate about what they're doing, like myself, you want to put your hand on every piece because you want to do your own quality control. But I think that's impossible if you intend to be successful. So one of my fears is fears and concerns is how do I care for the demand if and when it comes, well, let's say when it comes, how do I go about doing that? How do I partner with somebody without losing a lot of the control?
Yeah.
And in an affordable way, because I think that's what most people who are starting out are concerned about, being able to do it affordably.
Yeah. So what does your business partner do? What is his background? Where does he fit in
Well,
all of this? Because it
he's-
seems like you have another person.
Yes, he works full time like I do.
Oh, so you both work full time
So we both
also?
work, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So this is a side hustle
Right.
on the
trying
way
to-
to the main hustle.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's one of the biggest things is being able to devote the funds that you already need to care for everyday things, the necessities of life, and having the time to give to it and making sure you're protecting it. All of those things are
Yeah.
big concerns for us.
Oh man, that's tough. All right.
Yeah.
So you gonna make me work for it today, Artie. I should have asked you to pay on the way
Yeah,
in.
this is for the people.
This is for the
You
people.
thank me later.
Time is a big one for a lot of people, right? Especially when you are working full time. You mentioned you're married. I know you have a child. You're a parent too. So there's a lot to balance. What I have often suggested to clients who are coming through the door, brand new, who probably have full time jobs, is there a way you can devote an hour a day? Carve out that hour, look at your day, figure out all the things you're doing each day. Are you scrolling through social media? Are you spending time doing whatever you're doing? Can you pull back 1 hour a day to devote? Since both of you work full time, I had another actually guest on the show recently who talked about how before she went out full time as an entrepreneur, one of the things she did was she'd take days off from her day job and devote that full day to her side hustle, which was a side hustle then. And so then she could wake up in the morning and literally on that day off, do those things in the business that needed to be done that, when you're getting off at 5 or 6 or whatever, you have a spouse, you have a child, those things are tough. So that would be one suggestion in terms of the time, like devoting consistently an hour a day. When you have those days off, take a day and literally just focus on the business. In terms of the demand, which I know you're in the process of building that demand right now, but are there companies that will white label things for you? Where you have the copyright in the design, someone else is making and shipping and doing all those things that you're doing probably now.
Right.
Every day. And I don't know if those things are possible. Have you looked into that kind of thing?
I have looked into it. There are some companies who can do it. There again, my main concern is, will they do it the way that I would do it? Because the last thing I want is a complaint from a client, especially since I want them to be happy about the product. I think it only takes one bad review, or one bad experience with a person, and now they no longer want to deal with you as a company. They go on to, let's say, Amazon and order your product, and there's a bad review. They give you 1 star just so they could say, "I wish I could give you 0 stars." That affects how the public views you now, and so that's my that's one of the concerns as far as outsourcing is concerned. Will you show each product the love that I would show it?
Yeah.
Will it be quality the way that I expect it? The same thing that I would give if it came off of my own press, so to speak. So that's one of the things.
Oh, that's tough. I mean, but you're one person.
Right.
You can't be at a press making 12,000 shirts,
I
probably.
can't.
But I imagine there are some ethical companies, some companies who will send you products. I mean, you could randomly order products from them that are your own products to see, are they, when it's not, me requesting it, but me as a faceless, nameless customer, does it meet that same level of quality?
That's a
Is
good
a
idea.
suggestion. The other thing that I want to mention, because I love that you said this, because I hear various iterations of this from so many people. And that is, they're scared of that bad review. They're afraid of like that one instance where they really mess up and they think that's gonna like ruin
Right.
everything they've worked so hard for. But I have two examples that have happened recently, at least in 2019, last year in 2019. And the first was the release of Disney Plus. Are you familiar with Disney Plus? So Disney created this new kind of mechanism for getting all of their movies. They have like a new app, new service.
My daughter mentioned something about
Yeah.
it.
So all the old school Disney movies from when we were kids, all the new stuff, all the Marvel stuff, it's all in one platform. You pay like $6 or $7 a month. You have access to everything. And on the day it released, there were millions of people who could not get on, even though they had paid, even though they had registered and signed up. There were many, many complaints. And then also for the people who could even like log in and get on, they couldn't see all the movies or it didn't work with their televisions or whatever. So the first day Disney released this product in the United States, and it was one other country, I can't remember the other country, there were all these problems, all these complaints. You know how many people signed up for Disney Plus that first day? 10 million, more than 10 million.
Yeah.
So those bad reviews didn't really impact. I signed up a week later knowing all these problems had happened, right? Because I wanted that product. And I think you hear people talk a lot about how, they want stuff to be perfect, and nothing's perfect, right? And you will work 5 years trying to get something perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. Tesla released their new truck in 2019. And they tried to they created these windows that were supposed to be destruction proof. And on the stage when Elon Musk released the truck, he threw some balls at the windows, both of them shattered. And that was the release. They still got like 100,000 people signing up to buy this truck. So, having a mistake is not going to kill your business. So I would not allow being afraid of one bad review to keep you from looking for ways to scale. Because you can always find good ways to scale.
That's good advice.
I don't know. So I have more questions for you. You getting
I'm
all this
listening.
free
I'm
advice out of
sorry.
me. No, I'm kidding. But so you have this business you've been working on. You're doing, all this amazing work. You have a wife. You have
Right.
children. You
Yes.
have a child. You have a full-time job. How do you balance all these things? Because you're doing a lot. You're building a business. How do you do it?
One thing, when you have a family, you have to talk to your family. Ask them, are they getting the time that they need? And so you have to prioritize. And so I give my wife as well as my daughter the time that they need from me and step away every now and then. And it's also a difficult thing when you love what you do. If I had the ability to walk away from my job or take off to go spend time with my family, I do that all the time. But when I'm in there creating, I'm in my zone, and I could lose track of time. And so you don't check yourself as much as somebody else could or as well as someone else could. So one of the things I do is just ask, am I spending too much time doing this? And if so, then we'll focus on doing something together.
Do you ever feel like you are spending too much time on the business?
Yes, to be honest, yeah. But I think that's with anyone who does anything they love. You can be blinded by passion.
Yeah.
And so you could think that I'm giving it what it needs in order to get it to the level it needs to be. And so that's why you just ask. And your wife and your children are going to be,
They'll
or
let
your
you know.
spouse and your children will be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will let you know.
Oh, one other thing.
All right, go
I
ahead.
also like to involve my daughter in the process as well.
Okay.
And so that's one way we could we can spend time together, and you never know where good ideas will come from. And so by us doing that together, I'm teaching her entrepreneurship as well as getting some one-on-one time. And it provides an opportunity for her to talk to me about things that have nothing to do with the business. So it's killing two birds with one stone. I think that's one way to
Oh,
manage
that's
it.
awesome. So, what does she think? How does she like all of this? Does she have this bone in
She's
her
a
body?
daddy's girl. So she likes most of the things that I do, but now she's a teenager. And one thing I love about it is I try to teach her to be logical. Don't allow your emotion to affect everything. And so while she wants to please me, if she doesn't like something that I like, she'll say, no, I think you should simplify it. I think you're making it complicated. And so sometimes the designs that I finally come up with, the end result, she has
Yeah.
contributed to that. And so I like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I've met your daughter in passing. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen the way you and your wife interact with each other, which is beautiful. It seems like they both are very supportive
Yes.
of what you're trying to
Very.
do. But what kind of conversations do you have to have with your wife about this, though? Because you said, like you check in with her and say, hey, are you getting what you need? Sometimes it sounds like maybe you feel like you might not be getting what you need. But how did you have that conversation with her when you decided you really wanted to do this?
That I want telling
To
her this
start
is
a business
yeah.
and like all the things that
I
go
told her
into
about
it.
all the positives, to be honest with you. I said, if we do this, then it's going to work out this way, and then you don't have to work. But
Got it.
obviously,
I want her to work. She
yeah,
braids my hair.
yeah.
She needs to keep working.
And see, that's her passion. So my goal is for her to do that only as much as she would like to. But I just told her the positives, and I was honest with her and told her the negatives as well. And she's a very supportive woman. And so when she saw that I was very interested, and she jumped on board. I didn't have to do a whole lot of convincing because she knows I do my research. And so any question that she asked, I either had the answer for it or I would get the answer for it and keep her involved in it.
Yeah.
And so that way, she recognizes that her opinion matters. I value what she has to say. And so when a person feels like they're appreciated, then they don't have a problem investing. I think that's a big thing. Even at a job, you contribute to morale when you make a person a part of the process.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that helps us. We communicate, I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Great, great, great. Because, this is so important. Your business can be doing great, but if your family is not good,
It's
if
no
your
good.
people aren't good, it's not good.
It's not good.
You might be rich, but you're rich and by yourself.
That's right.
And that does not equate to happiness.
No.
So that is good advice for people as they are thinking about these journeys. It's not just you. It's the people who love you, the people who support you, the people who are with you now, while you're building. So
Exactly.
very good advice. So as you do all of this, as you build, as you grind with your business partner and all of that, what are you worried about? Do you have any fears? Do you have any fears about entrepreneurship, about what happens if you are successful or if you fail? What about all of that? What are you thinking there?
One of the fears is losing the identity. There's some people who become successful, they make a lot of compromises, and by the time they're finished, they don't even recognize the product or they don't see themselves in it. So I don't want to lose who we are because we have a goal, we have a focus. So I don't want to be dictated. I don't. Let's do one of those things that
ahead.
she really. I don't want anyone
So let me
to.
ask you again.
Okay. Yeah.
So as you build and grow your business, are there things you're worried about? Do you have any fears with respect to this entrepreneurship journey?
If with success, sometimes you lose a lot of your ability to influence, especially when you start partnering with bigger companies. And I don't want to lose our identity. I want to remain in control because we have a vision. And I want to have that as long as we can portray our vision, then I feel like we have the connection with the audience and that we want to have. So that's one of the things that I'm fearful of is losing the amount of control that we have. I know we have to compromise and give up some because everybody has to benefit in a partnership. So that's one of the things. And I think the other thing that I mentioned is just making sure, and you answered that actually, that I am able to protect what we have invested, protect our image, and protect everything that we've created. And so, and being able to stand up in court, so to speak. I don't want anybody to say, hey, we were doing something similar. You took this from us. And if their pockets are deeper, then I feel like they have a better chance at winning a case were it to come to that. So those are my fears.
So I love that you answered, like, sorry, let me try one more time. So I love your honest answer there, that you're worried about what happens when you grow. That's a big concern.
Absolutely.
When are growing a business, one of the strategies, and I talk about this with my clients a lot, is what is the plan? Are you going to grow and remain the face of the brand? Are you trying to sell to somebody else? I love that you mentioned your vision. I love that you talked about, wanting to protect your work. And I think for many people, they kind of assume that this is a really expensive thing to do, to get intellectual property, to get copyrights and trademarks and all of that. And it can be, don't get me wrong. But to start, it doesn't have to be. There are things you can do along the way to wrap your arms around your work. So that's great. So as we kind of wrap this up, you mentioned your vision. What is your vision for Affiliated? What is your vision for the work that you do? And, where do you plan to go?
Our vision for Affiliated is to provide quality product at a good price point, which is, we were talking about the challenges, frustrations, is having people recognize you as a formidable company, an opponent, so to speak, someone that others will have to compete with, but being able to make it attainable, not cheap. And a lot of people think that you're afraid to say affordable because people think cheap, but it's not cheap, it's quality. And so we want to be able to reach as many people who want to wear the brand, and just to make people feel good about wearing it. I want people to feel like this is me. I want it to be an expression of themselves, and that's part of my vision.
Oh, that's awesome. And so this is a place where, Artie, we disagree a little about price. We've talked about this a bit because there will always be people who think if it's too inexpensive, that it's cheap.
That's right.
That they don't want it. And I strongly believe that we should not compete on price. When you have a really good product, whatever the price is whatever it is. But your vision is what drives all of that. And so that is part of your vision, and I respect that. You and I do feel a little differently when it comes to price.
And that's why I mentioned it's a challenge. I agree with what you're saying. It's when you come from the background I come from, where your parents couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? Yeah, you always have sympathy and you empathize with individuals who would like to wear it, but they can't because they can't afford it. But you're right. I'll say that much. And so if you don't value yourself, that's something that I've learned. Other people won't value you.
Right.
And so you have to value your own product and put that tag on it to let people know that you think this much of it, in order for them to think that much of it as well. So I completely agree.
Well, I mean, you have great products. I look forward to seeing what happens with them because I've seen some of your designs, and I think they're really good. Where can people find you? If they want to get the shirt or if they want to connect with you, where can people find you?
Currently, you can go on to FNF, that's FANDF.official. That's Instagram. Or you can email me at ArtieFreeman81@gmail.com. It's ArtieFreeman81@gmail.com. So those are two ways that you can get in contact with me.
Okay, so the FNF.official, that's the Instagram account where
That's correct.
we can see your shirts and all of that?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So y'all go check out Artie's work, Ferguson and Freeman Affiliated Apparel Company. Take a look at what he's working on. I don't know if you're going to get back to bow ties, but, I have a husband and a son. You start making bow ties
if
again.
you're interested in a bow tie, you can contact me that way and we'll work together.
We'll work something out. All right, y'all. So if you have more questions about this episode, more questions about being an early stage entrepreneur, head over to Shontavia.com. Leave a comment about this video, about this conversation. If you have questions about anything Artie mentioned, I would love to connect with you and hear more about the things you're struggling with as a new and early stage entrepreneur. You can also ask other questions. You can also ask whatever you want about how to get started on this entrepreneurial journey. Shontavia.com. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Shontavia Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment wherever you're listening. You can find me on social media everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and wherever else at Shontavia JESQ. You can also visit me at shontavia.com to find a transcript of this episode, along with other show notes. While you're there, please be sure to subscribe to my email newsletter. The information shared in this podcast and through my other platforms is designed to educate you about business and entrepreneurship, and I love to do this work. While I am a lawyer, though, the information I provide is not legal advice and does not create or constitute an attorney-client relationship. The Shontavia Show is a Leverage Incorporated original. The show is recorded on site in South Carolina and produced at Sit and Spin Studio in Greenville, South Carolina. Original music and sound design is by Matt Morgan and Daniel Gregory. Mixing and mastering is by Daniel Gregory. And the video is by GVL Media.